Joseph Wu, and I'm a musician here. Me personally, the difference between Filipino music and foreign music, there's not a lot of difference. Like, you have a lot of talented bands here in the Philippines that are just as good as the foreign bands, but the way the masa crowd perceives Filipino music is that it's just, artistas and people who cover other people's songs, or like actresses who sing. And then your like A and B crowd, the perception of Filipino music is, well, everything is crap. I don't know if I can say shit, but everything's crap. That's why they choose foreign music, because they just assume that, everything here is that way. Everything here is like artistas covering other people's songs. That's why they choose foreign bands, because, well, they write their own music. But that's not the truth. Like, the truth is there are a lot of local bands who are good, who are very talented, but people just don't know about them because they're not given the right platform to showcase their music.
Do you think it has something to do with colonial mentality?
Yes, absolutely. Because we're taught, we're taught in this country that if you're white, you're popular. I mean, look at a lot of the artistas. I'm not saying that they're popular because of their skin tone, but it has to do, a lot has to do with it. You get artistas who aren't singers, and but they look good because they're like mixed or whatever, and then the industry will make them sing, and people will pay to see that because why? One, they're good looking. Two, they're popular, and three, they have no knowledge to what good local music is.
Okay, how do you think we can promote Filipino music in the country better?
I think promoters here first need to take more chances on local bands. A lot of promoters here, they bring in a lot of foreign bands, and I have nothing against a lot of them coming in and doing shows, but you also have to realize, if you bring in like 3 international bands in a month or in 2 months, it's essentially crashing the local market, and people won't go to the local market. Because ask yourself this: if Phoenix was playing tomorrow, and if let's say a popular Filipino band, Sponge Cola, is playing the same day, what would you pick? Phoenix every time. Why? Because they're foreign, and you think that you're not going to see them again, and you pay a lot of money to see that. But then when a local band is doing the same show, you complain paying like 150 pesos because they're not promoted well enough. We're led to believe that Filipino bands are not as good as foreign bands, when it's not true at all. Local promoters just need to promote Filipino bands more, rather than spending all their money bringing in foreign bands, even festivals.
Okay. How do you feel about producers or music companies asking local bands to come up with songs for the masa?
Okay. I guess it depends on the band. Personally, me, if like a company asked me to write something for like a masa thing, I don't know. I guess it depends on musicians, because obviously they pay well. It's for masa, but if it's like, I think if you wrote it strictly for that, like you just wrote it and gave it to them, then that's fine. But I would be against if they told you to write it and like you perform it, like they make you write and that's your single, and then I'd be against that, because that's against my own creativity or freedom of creativity.
If they told you that they would sign you under their label if you did that and perform the song that they want, would you do it?
No.
Sorry. Okay. Why do you think foreign bands succeed more than local bands in the global market?
Foreign bands take risks. In the foreign market, there's a lot of markets that the labels or their management markets to. There's country, there's rap, there's rock, there's pop, there's folk, and there's, you know, R&B. There's a lot, and they market to those specific markets, and then if a band does well, it crosses over. Like Taylor Swift, country and pop. But here, you know, they have a formula to what works, and they only market to the massa when you can clearly market to, you know, the A&B market and do well. Like, think about it, people complain like, you're like, okay, the Philippines is not big enough to tour, and the reason for bands becoming popular is because they tour. Well, think about how many malls there are in the Philippines. Sure, we might not have the right venues, but think about how many malls there are in the Philippines. You can literally get in a van, drive up the coast of Luzon, and play every single mall, and that'd be a tour. And sure, you wouldn't get a lot of people in the beginning, but if you keep doing it over and over again, you're gonna get attention. That's how bands in the States do it. Like, not all bands start off playing sellout shows. You know, the band May toured for a year, only playing to 30 people a show, but they kept touring, and then look at where they are now. You just need to take more risks. You just need to, you know, take more chances and think. Like a lot of Filipino bands, they're very good, but they're scared to compare themselves with foreign bands. They're afraid to compete with them and think of them as competition because of the fact that those foreign bands tour around the world and the bands here don't. And I think what needs to start is local bands here need to consider other local bands as their own competition. I mean, we're all friends, yes, and it's not a problem, but you can be friends but still have like friendly competition. Because if you can't even consider another local band your competition, you're not going to consider a foreign band your competition. And if you can't do that, you're going to be stuck in this country forever.
Where do you see OPM heading in the next 5 years?
I don't know. Hopefully up. I mean, as I say, there's nowhere to go but up. It's pretty shitty right now. Personally, I think OPM is about 10 years behind. But you know, there's hope. I mean, we have very talented musicians, we have very talented bands. It's just they need to be given more of a platform, and hopefully within 5 years they'll start to do that.
Filipino music versus foreign music.
Original Filipino music are historically great in its way, but nowadays OPM is just a copycat of foreign music. Basically, some still try to make it there, but knowing the person running this music industry here, he's gonna spiral it.
What do you think it takes to become a successful musician in the Philippines?
Be good looking.
That's it?
I don't know. For me, I'm gonna sound like an asshole for saying this, but I don't really think any musicians here are considered successful. They're successful in the Philippines, but that's it. But if you're talking about success in a broader sense, no one is.
Zach, where do you see the music industry heading in 5 years?
Where? Nowhere. It's basically just in a spiral of stupidity and stupid media people who are just handling it, and they just want to hold the money to themselves. So, to those guys, shove that money up your ass. If you're a girl like Ann Curtis, you may buy everything, but you'll never sing good.
How would you compare Filipino music, original Filipino music, to foreign music?
Original Filipino music has a lot more soul. That's all I can say. Because if you're growing up in the Philippines, you'll understand the culture more. International music is really poppy, and it's all pretty much about the same kind of thing. But then OPM can be just about anything, and the best part is it's in Filipino. And the Filipino language is just really something that isn't very easy to play with. So if you can figure it out in Tagalog, then you can do it really well.
Do you think the majority of Filipinos prefer foreign music over Filipino music?
Well, because of the sound that they give also. It's very international, if you say, and compared to the Philippine music, the Philippine music is very soulful, like what my friend Alex said. And yeah, my bandmate too. Yeah, it works that way. That's how the world works, I guess. But then we want to let out the OPM also because, it's the future music.
Um, how do you think the Filipino people or the media, in that matter, could better promote OPM?
But in that way, they should feature more Filipino artists more than they, get other foreign performers. They can should feature Filipinos more than those white people that are like that guy.
Think Filipinos would pay higher for a foreign band than they would a local band.
I honestly think that's because they're like more kilala, more well known because it's like people can it's like it's English. That's why I honestly think it's because it's English and all that stuff. But sometimes they have to check us out. So give us a chance. But I think it's just a matter of time before the whole world will finally notice the Filipino music. And I hope one day.
It's like how K-pop exploded.
Yeah.
YouTube, and
Facebook.
other
Yeah, it's
streaming,
basically the
the exposure is very
exposure is very
important, especially if you want the Filipino music to really, boost up. That's a good way to start. Just keep sharing.
Just be yourself when it comes to doing your music, because that is what you really are. You don't want to pretend because of just getting the money.
Or copy because
Okay.
Mabuhay OPM!
What would you do if a music label asked you to make one pangmasa song in exchange for an entire album?
Music is music. We wanna play what we wanna play, and it all comes from us also.
if they don't want us, then
Yeah.
fucking
Find something
We'll
else.
find something
Just
else.
leave that out.
But music's gonna run through our blood forever.
Or if they want us to make masa songs, we'll do it in our way. Yeah.
our way.
In our way.
And I did
You like it or you don't? It's our way.
Music has played a big role in Filipino culture. Our culture does not only appreciate it, we practice it. Our culture is molded into the shape of music. It is of no surprise then that even the current generation is inclined to music. But have our musical tastes changed through time? We are all familiar with the term colonial mentality. Could we say that even our musical preferences are influenced by this belief? Is foreign music truly better than what us Filipinos can produce? So it is only fitting that we ask the opinion of Filipino artists in the underground scene of what they think real OPM is and how it is relevant to our society today. We interviewed the members of the band Eddie Shawarma and asked them the following questions. For you, what is the difference of OPM from foreign music? Why do you think foreign bands succeed more than the local bands in the global market? Why do we have to support our own music? Or any other stuff that is originally ours for that matter? Does colonial mentality really affect our society today? In fact, it does. And it does not only affect society, it influences our culture as well, which in turn changes the whole behavior of our community, thus changing the whole image of being a Filipino. A lot more of this, and we can say that nothing from us is really original. Let's define colonial mentality a little bit more. Colonial mentality simply means that you reject anything from your own country in preference for something Western or American, which is quite common in our country nowadays. This question is why we practice it. Isn't our music creative enough for our fellow Filipinos? What is the basis of our preferences? Let's define colonial mentality a little bit more. Colonial mentality simply means that you reject anything from your own country in preference for something Western or American, which is quite common in our country nowadays. This question is why we practice it. Isn't our music creative enough for our fellow Filipinos? What is the basis of our preferences?